Hey guys, it's me, Aless. I'm here with.
Hey,
So I'm testing out a different style of video. So we get constant requests to make podcasts, to make more raw type of videos. What I'm starting to pick up on is that you guys don't really like the informative slash psychological videos that much. You guys want us to talk heart to heart, raw, and proof of that is you guys are constantly joining the live streams, which we appreciate. So we're gonna do that in this video. So if this is not your cup of tea, please click away. If not, let's get on with this video. So as you guys can see with the title, is childhood trauma just an excuse? Is it justified? I have to figure out a title. But what we're trying to figure out in this video is if people just throw out the term childhood trauma too loosely to try to justify their behaviors, or if there's some sort of a point to it. You guys could do your own psychological research and figure this out, but we're gonna just talk heart to heart, mention a little bit of our experiences without going too much into detail, and yeah. So, E, do you want to start us off here?
yes, of course. Wait, damn, I'm sorry, I feel called out. All right. A lot of people in this world are living with a bunch of trauma that they don't realize. Others are very aware of it, but then they end up kind of excusing their behavior instead of actually looking inwards for the change that they need in order for them not to identify with trauma. So I kind of understand why people so quote unquote maybe justify why they do the things they do because of trauma. But I also believe in accountability, which means not taking accountability what happened to you as a child, but take accountability for what that so-called trauma has done to your adult or much older self, because at that point you're not that kid that couldn't defend themselves anymore. You're an adult who can calm the inner child. And I can relate because of as a kid, I've always been pressured by my parents. They were very strict too. So I feel like that can be traumatizing to a highly sensitive person, which it can differ, right? Somebody can be very sensitive and another person won't be and might not take it the same way as a sensitive person can. I don't know if you guys are that. Only you guys will know who you are and if you are. But yeah, as a kid, being enforced all these rules by strict parents, pressure to do good, kind of traumatized me to not believe in myself and not have any self-trust. So I feel like that's a bit of trauma in a minuscule way, right? But that is one example of many that I have come to realize as an adult that I am a very traumatized individual, quote unquote traumatized individual, because I believe that there is no past trauma. And I know you guys might be wondering, like, what? There's no past trauma? Because I'll tell you why. Because there's no trauma doesn't deny your pain. It transcends it, It's a little reminder that your true self cannot be damaged, even if your human experience has been. It invites you to move from, hey, I was hurt, to I am complete even though I experienced hurt. I feel like you need to be more compassionate to yourself, because compassion is expansion.
So I know E gave us a lot to work with there and a lot to think about. And I see what he's trying to say. I think trauma does stay with us for a long time. Even when you go to therapy or you talk it out, I still think it stays with you. And it's very hard to unlearn things. It's very hard to move forward from things. It is very hard. But I don't think it's impossible. And I think little by little, as time goes on, you will find yourself less and less behaving like your younger traumatized self once did. I wanted to make a video about this one day, not now, maybe in the future, where because of what I've experienced and seen as a child in terms of graphic things, it's made me feel very like about certain things or just on and off. It's made me see people differently. It's made me feel, I feel like I've talked about this in a video before, but it's made me see things differently. It's made me see people differently, and it's made me feel like I'm going to end up alone. I also started seeing my body differently. I felt like people were not going to be selfish. I felt things were more degrading and worse than I thought, or maybe they are, I don't know, but it caused me, even as an adult, to have to unlearn things, and even my body just still remembers certain things and feels certain things. You can't control how people see you, so it is what it is. And I really believe in God, and God sees your heart and intention. So if people are trying to mess things up for other people, God sees that, and that's on them. That's their thing, because those people that do that, they're probably traumatized themselves. Because one time, I want to tell you guys this story, but I don't want to share people's businesses, and it's not really like a story. It's more like this person's personality that was crazy. Like, this person's personality was very, like, the way they talked about certain things was so graphic. I didn't want to hear it, but they were badly traumatized in these ways, so it became a domino effect. So because they were traumatized as a child, as a teen, through these certain methods, they started talking to other people like that, and they started seeing things like that. Guys, you can tell a lot about what people have gone through based on how they treat other people. Sometimes when you bring up topics of happy, healthy families and kids, some people get uncomfortable or upset about it. So maybe they come from a household where their parents traumatized them, or like maybe they don't want to talk about it, or they get angry, or they get standoffish, or they get peed off. The reaction depends. So I think it could say a lot. Also, when it comes to trauma, I feel like I have downplayed, and you've even told me this because he knows certain things have happened to me. Well, most things, if not all things. He basically has noticed this pattern of me downplaying it a lot. I mean, I'm sure you kind of do that too sometimes, but like me downplaying. Well, I tend to downplay like good, like I downplay my accomplishments, and I downplay also the bad I've gone through. I'm like, oh, people have had it worse, I wasn't in a war, but then you don't realize until years later as an adult how much that scars you, or how much it changes the way you see things. So that's another thing too, about like things getting downplayed too.
I agree with what you said earlier about trauma sticking with you too, because as you know, it can shape how you feel and react and how you see yourself. What's it called? Trauma is unprocessed energy or emotion that hasn't found a way to release or understand itself. But yeah, I feel that whenever I would hear you talk about what happened to you, you kind of downplay it. And I think I know why, because we tend to compare trauma, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people do that because they're like, oh, hey, it's almost to run away from it. Again, like, it's unprocessed energy. You don't know what to do with it, right? So that's what unhealed trauma can do, right? It can influence your life. Unless it's met with awareness and compassion, it's not going to go anywhere.
I like when you said unprocess this energy, because sometimes if I really sit here and think of certain situations I've been through, I almost feel like I'm reliving them again. And that tends to happen. And, if you guys do some research on this trauma and psychology and stuff, this tends to happen. And I feel like also when it comes to trauma, a lot of people, and I feel like this is mainly with guys, don't take offense, but like they tend to kind of deny it or downplay. They're like, nah, like that's nothing, bro. Oh, it's light, bro. Or like they don't really realize why they're the way they are. They don't want to sit with these emotions, or they think, oh, trauma's just, the word trauma is thrown out like it's nothing. I mean, I used to think, sometimes I still do that, the word trauma gets thrown around like really easily, but you don't really realize that something has affected you until you see how you act. When you think of your child and your child self sitting beside you, or like you see what they've gone through, you wish you could kind of like protect them from it.
When you said about men, I think men go about it the wrong way, which they can do that and keep it in. But women, it can be different, right? They can go to extreme lengths, like what we see in the adult industry, right? They can go through that. Yeah. They can see their bodies differently. Even men the same, right? Yep. But I think trauma can be transpired in many other ways, right? But if I'm speaking spiritually, right? I understand when you say that trauma sticks with you. But remember, we're awareness behind our human experience, right? It only sticks with you as long as you identify with that part of you that was hurt. But you have to witness it from the awareness that is, right? Because when you remember who you are beyond your pain, your trauma loses its grip.
No, I was gonna say, I like how you mentioned the spiritual stuff, because I do believe it is spiritual. It's like your soul or your spirit gets kind of like, there's a knife and it just, but God also can heal that. God can definitely heal that. But I love how, I wish I mentioned this sooner. I love how E brought up the whole adult industry, because people are so quick to judge these men and women in these industries, but they don't understand that a lot of them, I'm not saying everybody, a lot of them have been traumatized in these SA ways. SA changes how you see your body. I'm just saying SA for YouTube terms and all that. It changes the way you see your body. It changes the way you see guys. It changes the way you see things, and girls, if you're a guy, like, it changes the way you, or whoever the perpetrators were, like, it changes this. And it's not a justification, but kind of like I said in that little Tay video, it's everybody has a backstory and everybody has something that made them act the way they did. But kind of like back to the title, it's not really an excuse to treat people like crap. It's not an excuse to treat people badly. It's not an excuse to be selfish and self-centered. It's not an excuse to, yeah, like, mistreat people and be crappy and judgmental and stuff.
Exactly, that's what it is. It's unprocessed energy, emotion. It can't find a way to release, so they must go through these things. That's why trauma. That's why unhealed trauma can influence your life, like, for real. It can make you act in a lot of ways when people don't meet it with awareness and compassion to themselves. Because, people tend to be like, yeah, this is me. This is what happened. It happened because it's my fault. It happened because, that's what trauma does to you, right? To a person.
I agree with what you're saying. And there's no denying that trauma can do a bunch of stuff to people. And, like, a lot of people have been traumatized. I wouldn't say everybody's been traumatized, because I thought this way as well. But I was corrected that it's not that everybody's experienced trauma. People have experienced bad things, but some things aren't as, like, severe enough to get traumatized from, or, like, ongoing CPTSD, like, ongoing things going on that never seem to end, or don't end for a long time, or have, like, a really detrimental impact. And again, it's not justification, because we take our traumas and we kind of pass it. Traumatize people, traumatize other people. We take our traumas and then we pass it on to other people, like, because we're traumatized and we traumatize other people, and then those people traumatize those people. Like, it's a cycle. It's a cycle that has to be broken. It does. And it starts with you. It starts with you watching this.
You need to integrate what happened to you to your truth, right? Because the real freedom isn't about forgetting trauma or pretending it's gone, but it's about integrating it into your wholeness, right? Into who you are, not who you are, but who the awareness behind you are. You stop fighting it. You start being defined by it. And I'll just tell you this, right? Trauma may walk beside you, but it doesn't have to steer you.
Yeah, it doesn't have to lead you. I like that.
When it's met with your presence and your awareness, it transforms from a wound into wisdom.
I think we ended this on a great note. Thank you, E, for that. That is all for now. We can make, like, part 2, part 3. We just don't want this video to go on, like, for hours. But there's so much we could say. Like, we have topics, or we have talks about these topics a lot. So, guys, thank you for watching. If you want, like, this kind of quote-unquote podcast style video, again, please let us know, because I think you guys enjoy these more. I could be wrong, but this is based on what people have been telling me, especially as of lately. So, thank you guys so much for watching this, and I will see you guys in my next video or my next live. Bye, guys.
God be with you.